Hey, say hi everyone. This is Amaya. Say hi. Say I'm so cute. All I do is sleep and eat. Amaya's just fed and she's had her bum changed. I think she's ready for a sleep, so we'll see how long she lasts through this video, but I think she's quite content because she can hear my voice. So first of all, we're going to talk about the birth of Amaya. So she was born on the 5th of Feb, as I said, scheduled C-section, and we went to the hospital knowing basically the time. It was, I must admit, living abroad, it was a lot easier for us to be able to plan for someone to look after Jacob. So my mother and father-in-law came out to look after Jacob whilst we were in hospital, and it just meant that he could kind of go about his daily routine as normal, so that there's not too much change for him whilst we were gone, myself, my husband, and obviously the new addition to our family. As you can see, she's starting to drift off to sleep, so I'm going to pause, I'm going to swaddle her, and then I'm going to come back. So going back to the birth and C-section, basically I would say that the whole experience was seamless this time. There was a couple of odd things that had happened that I'd experienced, but again I was expecting a lot of it as well, which I'll talk you through in a little bit more detail. However, I felt that I was more informed this time, but again, whether it's because I had experience of a C-section before, so again I knew what to expect. Hospital staff were great. The atmosphere in the operating room was really calm and quite casual actually. There was a bit of chit chat going on between the surgeon, myself, the nurses, just all the staff, and then there was a kind of a nice feel to it, so that I didn't panic, and nobody else did, of course. So of course my husband was in with me, so I had the epidural in the operating room and then straight into the operation. And yeah, Amaya was out. I would probably say the whole procedure was about an hour, and then maybe an hour and a half by the time that she came out, and then they were stitching me up, and then I spent another hour in recovery just to make sure that everything's okay before I went up to my room. The only thing that we had was a little bit of a glitch. Amaya had to get taken to ICU just for extra observation. There was something to do with the levels of her respiratory levels were not where they should have been. I don't know a huge amount of detail about it. I just know that she was slightly below average, so they wanted to keep her in for an extra couple of hours just to see how she was doing, and thankfully within the hours she was fine. What that meant, however, I was very certain I wanted to breastfeed. I breastfed Jacob as well, and I didn't want them to give her formula in the start. I wanted her to have my breast milk in the beginning. So what they had to do is, sorry, probably too much information, but they had to squeeze a little bit of the colostrum, and they managed to get about 10 mils from me. The nurse came and she basically just helped herself, and then she got 10 mils, and then she went back to where Amaya was kept in ICU, and then they managed to give her 5 mils, which kind of saw her through for the 2 hours until she came back to the room, which was great, because again, this is another thing that the hospital staff were really good at, because they did adhere to my birth plan, and they were very diligent and followed through basically everything that we'd asked for, which was great. So within a couple of hours I was back up to my room, and then Amaya joined me finally, which was lovely. It's just that feeling of knowing that that little bundle of joy was inside you for all those months, and then when she comes out, she's a proper human being. And I know it sounds silly, but you just kind of look at her and you think, wow, you're not like, you're a baby. And the feeling of, I mean, I'm used to having a boy, so that was probably something I was a little bit anxious about in terms of that bonding at the beginning. And honestly, I would probably say that you just instantly feel this gush of emotions that I don't know where they've been and where they come from. I just know that they basically are so overwhelming. Obviously tears and hugs and kisses, but I think because she's a little girl as well, I felt an element of, I just wanted to protect her and look after her. Again, not saying that I didn't feel that about Jacob. I probably felt the exact same, but this is obviously current and new. But no, it was amazing. And I shouldn't really say this because I don't want to jinx it just yet, but Amaya has been good as gold. She's super content as a baby. She's so low maintenance. Basically, I actually feel really guilty because all she's doing is eating, sleeping, pooping, and then repeating the whole process again. I will say that she does have like a fussy period, and that usually starts probably around 9 o'clock till about 1 o'clock in the morning. So 9 o'clock at night till 1 in the morning. It's not ideal in terms of the timing, but when you've got a baby like her who is just great all day and most of the night, I mean, she wakes up twice during the night to feed. I'd probably say her feeding time is slightly longer than what it was with Jacob, so she takes a while to feed. All in all, it takes about 45 minutes to an hour to feed her, change her, feed her and change her. And the reason why I say that is normally you would think, right, baby wakes up, you change, you feed, and then you burp and then put to sleep. However, with Amaya, she wakes up and she's actually not got like a dirty nappy. She's probably done a wee. Then you'll feed her and then she'll poop again, and then she'll poop again, and then again. So I find the best way to do it is, as soon as she wakes up, she's cranky anyway because she's hungry, I'll feed her, and then she'll kind of have a couple of poops throughout the process of feeding, and then right at the end, after I've finished burping, then we can just do that one change, sometimes two, but at least it's not 3 and 4. So we're still trying to work our way around that, but it's still early stages. She does cluster feed, however, in the evenings, so that kind of means that instead of waking up every 2.5 to 3 hours for a feed, she'll probably wake up every hour and a half. But again, I'm doing an element of on demand because I know that's cluster feeding, and then the rest I'll kind of sometimes wake her up after 2.5 to 3 hours to feed her, just because that's what we're doing. We're following Taking Care of Babies newborn course, which we took. I did mention that on my last video, and it's a phenomenal program. It basically sets a routine from such a young age. When I say a routine, it's a really loose routine, but it gives you as a mum a little bit more confidence to think, right, I'm going to feed her in 2.5 hours, and then I know she's going to have a little bit of awake time, burping, changing, awake time, and then she's going to be back to sleep again. So then I know when I've got some free time, I would say for myself, but it's actually for Jacob. So we're kind of loosely following that at the minute. They also do advise in that program that you allow the baby to put themselves to sleep. Again, it's one of those things that we did with Jacob as part of his sleep training. You can tell she's probably starting to request another feed. Hi, baby. Hey. Hi, little one. Hey. So inquisitive. As you can see here, this was Jacob when he first met his baby sister Amaya. He absolutely adores her, and all he wants to do is pick her up and squeeze her and give her kisses all the time. So we're absolutely over the moon with this relationship. Amaya is sleeping with us in our room. We did this with Jacob for the first 6 months, and our plan is to do the same with her. So as you can see on my side of the bed, we have the Chico next to me, and then inside of it I have put the sleepy head. Amaya has her daytime naps in here as well as through the night sleep. So what we have done is we have actually put the baby monitor here as well, so that if I'm not in the bedroom I can keep an eye on her. And this also has the sensor pad just to monitor baby's movement to make sure that they are breathing all the time. It was something that I used with Jacob and it just gave me extra peace of mind, so I am using it with Amaya as well. So from a feeding perspective, I'm breastfeeding Amaya, however I'm also expressing so that I've got a little bit more freedom if I have to nip out to go anywhere, or if Daddy fancies giving her a feed, then it makes it a lot easier for all of us as well. So yeah, we tend to use a lot of Dr. Brown products simply because they were great for Jacob when he was colicky. So I've just bought more of the Dr. Brown bottles, and that's what we've started giving Amaya as well. She actually took her first bottle in week 1, so this is her taking her first bottle, and we were so chuffed because she did so well, and we've managed to give her so far a bottle a day. I want to keep it that way just so that she then can understand the difference between breast and bottle, but I also don't want to overdo it because I don't want to express too much and impact on my supply just yet, because I don't need to at this stage. And then in terms of tracking Amaya's feeds and nappies, etc., I'm using an app called Baby Tracker. It is great because, especially through the night, I find myself that I'm a bit of a zombie and I'm not actually sure how long she fed for and what time sometimes. So just keeping a record of this really does help to kind of look back and just think, right, she fed 2.5 hours ago, it must be time for another feed, and just to keep on top of how many nappies she's having as well. We gave Amaya her first bath a couple of days after we got out of hospital, and as expected, she did not like it one bit. Neither did Jacob when we gave him his first bath, but I think it's one of those things that they grow to like eventually. We have been giving her a bath every other night since, and each one is getting better than the last. So guys, you've probably noticed that I've relocated to another part of the bedroom. I actually had to pause filming earlier because Jacob woke up from his afternoon nap, then Amaya woke up, and then I had one of my friends come over and give me a lovely new set of eyelashes. It was actually a treat that I fancied because I just felt so not like myself after the operation, so I just promised myself that I would do something for me, and I think that's really important because it makes you feel a little bit more normal and that you're getting back to your old usual self, even if it's just a little pampering session or, I don't know, a bath, a face mask, just something that gives you time. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that I had mentioned a couple of the things that I experienced post-op, just for any of you that are having a C-section, planning on, or end up with an emergency C-section. These are just things that it would be good to know about. So in terms of medication, for example, I was given a couple of things to take after the op. Some were for a week, duration of a week, and some for 2. So the first thing were probably too much information, but laxatives will be your new best friend. Obviously, as you can imagine, you've got an incision down there. It's major surgery because they've cut through your abdominal muscles, so the last thing you want to be doing is straining. So definitely laxatives, and I take them every day. I also got tablets for wind. Wind can be excruciating. I had that experience with my last C-section with Jacob, so again, something to take to make sure that it relieves you of any gas. I also had low iron levels. I was anemic, or it showed up that I was anemic after the operation, so I take iron tablets. I also have injections that I take. There were only 8 of them, so I've actually stopped taking them now, but it's to prevent DVT. So my husband would give me one just on my thigh every night before I went to bed. And then there was a couple of painkillers as well. Obviously every hospital, doctor, country is different, but I had a couple of painkillers and antibiotics as well. So you do go home with a huge bag of medication. Another thing that I experienced after the operation that you don't hear an awful lot about, and then because I'd experienced it with Jacob, I kind of thought that this could happen to me again, and it did. Basically, it's a really unusual pain that for me, it was under my collarbone, just on my right shoulder, and it started the next day after surgery. Now, the only thing to actually get rid of it or calm it down were painkillers. So I had a couple of injections. I'm not actually sure what they gave me now, come to think about it, but it was something quite powerful because I was in a lot of pain. And basically the explanation for it is, whilst they're operating, an air bubble gets trapped inside and then it travels up to the highest point of your body, which is really your shoulders, and it kind of sits under a nerve. And it's something to do with also it can place itself under or near your diaphragm, and that can also press on a nerve. So basically the only thing to get rid of it would be exercise and moving around, and obviously you can't do a lot of that when you've just come out of surgery. A lot of people that I've read online that have talked about it have experienced the same. So as I said, I didn't feel like I was alone or I was going a bit insane. However, it is one thing to watch out for. And then the other thing is, in terms of mobility, you're expected to get up the next day and start walking. It might feel painful at the beginning, but it is actually really good for you because it can help prevent DVT, and it can also get you moving, because the sooner you start, the better. You're going to have to get up and start picking up your newborn anyway, and in my case it was my toddler, so it kind of pushes you. It might feel a little bit painful at the beginning, but as I said, the more you do it, the less painful it is. And then finally, from an emotional perspective, definitely prepare yourself for lots of highs but also lots of lows. The first thing is you're tired, your body is still healing, so that's definitely a massive it'll have a massive impact on your moods anyway when you don't sleep. You're up through the night doing feeds, changing nappies, calming down a screaming baby. All these things can definitely have an impact on how you're feeling the next day. So that's one thing. You're on medication as well, and you are in a bit of discomfort again, whether it's C-section or natural birth. I can imagine you're still feeling an element of discomfort afterwards. In my case, especially this time around, I look at my two babies and my husband and I think this is everything I've been dreaming of, and what did I do to deserve all this? I am so lucky, and yeah, I'm on cloud 9. And then within a split second, everything can change. The two of them could be crying at the same time. The two of them can need a nappy change. I could be breastfeeding Amaya, and then Jacob is crying or whinging, or he wants my attention. And then you've got things like the day-to-day life. You want to be getting on with things, and you just feel like you're limited to what you can do because you have a baby or more than one baby, but also because you just don't have all that energy to do it. So I think the only thing I would say is, from my experience, is just take each day as it comes. Don't overestimate what you can do. I was definitely my own worst enemy, writing huge to-do lists, and then come evening time I haven't achieved any of it, and I just get so angry with myself. But then I just remember that I'm only human and I am doing such an amazing job. You tell yourself that because you need to, so everything else can just wait. And do you know what? It all kind of falls into place eventually. Things like routines, babies, they're only babies for so long, and then you will find yourself running after a toddler before you know it. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video, whether you are planning on having a C-section, whether you're having a baby, or whether you are just interested in watching what 2 weeks post-birth looks like. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments, please leave them in the comments box below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. See you later, guys. Bye.